All right, guys. Nice to see you. How we doing? Okay. Talk to me about um, what system in particular. I gave about as vague and broad of a topic as possible for today. So talk to me about what systems you might like some more clarity on, and maybe today, at the very least, we can leave with something where we have a better way of controlling the chaos. So let me start off by I'm trying to remember who was in the room the other day when I kind of drew this out. Is Art? Let me show you what some ideas behind systems real fast. Okay. First of all, a anything that you find yourself in real estate doing more than one time, which is just about everything, you should have a system for it, right? Let me give you a simple example. You get a referral. What is your referral system, right? How do you thank the person that gave you the referral, right? That should be repetitive, automated, and ultimately will become probably somebody else's job, right? So what is the system behind that? This, when I say system, what I really mean is what's the checklist? What steps do I follow? What are the next four things that need to take place once this event happens, right? Um, so a system like that would be I immediately send a video text to the person that sent me the referral. I write a handwritten note to that person, and I call and leave um, a message with the person that was referred to me, right? Something like that. Then I might make a note in command from the person that referred me and say, hey, Donna introduced me to Andrew on 6/30/2021, right? Just so I can kind of keep it all together. So that's like a 3 or 4 step system so that everything is easily handled and nothing slips through the cracks. Does that make sense? So the reason why we have systems is this. Hang on. The reason why we have systems is this, okay? Because we are trying to build this, right? Which is just I wish this was more effective. We're going to be coming into in person soon, but hang with me. Okay, so let's say we're down here and we want this awesome business up here, right? And we think we're going to get there in a straight line. It ain't going to happen, y'all. It's not going to happen. What's most likely going to happen is it's going to look something like this, right? And the idea there is there's only so much you can do entrepreneurially before there's just flat out too much chaos. And then you need to take a step, a moment, and control the chaos. And the way that you control the chaos is with more systems, right? So you have a system on how you start your morning, you have a system on how you end your day, you have a system on how you handle incoming inbound leads, you have a system on what you do when the deal goes binding, you have a system that happens when you get off the phone with the prospect, what do you do then, right? It's all about repetitive steps and establishing a quick little system on how you're going to maintain that information and use it to your benefit in the future. Okay, so I want you to understand that this little slowdown here, it doesn't mean like you're failing or you're not good or something like that. It means that you're growing a business and there's a lot involved in growing a business, right? And you're not just going to be able to skip this. I know here's what they show you on TV and in the news when you're building a business. They show you this, then they show you this, then they show you this, or they just go straight to this. Oh, overnight success. That's completely nonsense. And overnight success, they forgot to show you how early they wake up, how hard they work, how much they study, how much they train, right? What they read, what they learned, who mentored them, all that stuff. Okay. So the whole point of this is, can we build systems that make all this stuff just a little easier to navigate and control the chaos a little bit, right? I used a different way of explaining it to the other person where I said, your business is kind of like this. And every once in a while, you just need to kind of control all this, like get it off your plate and then it's going to go crazy again, and then you're going to control it again. And every step you control it, your business is getting more um, impressive and stronger. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where are you finding um, glitches or gaps in your business that you really need a system for. Who wants to be the first to volunteer? The first to volunteer will build a system for you today. Drew.
Yes.
Good job.
I didn't realize I was off mute this whole time. I hope I wasn't really
No,
interrupting.
no noise. I would have muted you.
All right, cool. So I want to build a system for my open house leads. I kind of feel like every time I get a lead from open house, somebody who's unrepresented, I kind of just act on it in the moment instead of having something concrete and step-by-step process to nurture that lead.
Okay, beautiful. Good idea. This is really, let's build out something today that is going to be applicable not just for open house people, but for all incoming leads. Because all the stuff we do for an open house person is, it's really the same as you would do for somebody that called in on a sign. It's really the same that you would do for some that called on a listing or something, and maybe you showed it to them, and that was, they didn't want to move forward, and then you were like, what now? Right? Same kind of thing. So I'm just going to build it in the chat with you guys. Okay. So it's actually many of the same things that we actually are probably already expecting. So we need to get the intake, right? And I'll hit return after every step. Okay. So the intake is all their contact information, right? We want to have something going on about them, something that is unique that we can bring up later on that will prove to them that we actually are paying attention to them specifically. That they're not just like another body that walked in the door that you treat exactly the same way, right? They're a person with specific goals and specific family and etc. Make sense? Okay, so we need the intake, contact information, something unique about the person. Okay, now let's use open houses specifically. Is when it's done, we definitely want to know their motivation, right? And their timing. Got to know their motivation and timing. That's going to dictate everything. Okay. And ideally, you have some form of agreement on the next step, right? So there's some type of dialogue that says, I will be reaching out to you in the future, and here's why. And here's why it's going to benefit you, right? Or as you're digging for the motivation and the timing, you're identifying something that they need help with, right? Some type of issue they have. Maybe they don't have a lender. Maybe they need some credit repair. Maybe they need you to send them a list of homes. Maybe they need an introduction to a okay, y'all catch that?
I don't know if it was just my connection, but you kind of went out for a second.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was
I didn't
thinking.
hear the last thing that you said.
The last thing is you're digging for something that they have a problem with. So it's basically some type of challenge that you can solve. So when you're identifying their something unique about them and their motivation and their timing, you're essentially looking for a way to help them, right? So it's not just, oh, well, I can help you sell this and I can do this and I can do that and commission breath all over them. It's what would you like me to help you with so that you can move forward closer to your goal, right? So there's some type of agreement on the next step. I have identified a way to help you, and here's how I'm going to help you, and here's how I'm going to communicate that help to you. Make sense? Okay, the next thing is we are going to input, right? So we're inputting it into whatever system we have. So we are taking the data from the sign-in sheet or from our brain into some form of permanent file, permanent record. Okay. Next thing I would do is some type of video text. Okay. Now this is likely the beginning of your 7 to cement, right? Remember when we meet a new customer, before they basically go into the MET 36 touch system, we talk about having a 7 to cement. It's what the old 8x8 was, and what they talk about in MREA, which is there's a certain series of steps that you will have with this particular person that cement the relationship before you just stick them in the database and put them on the newsletter or whatever, right? So we can go through what that looks like, right? It might be, I would start it with a video text. Okay. Number one, ain't nobody doing video text. Okay. Most of y'all aren't even doing it. Okay. Now that's going to separate you from the competition, because if they came into your open house, there's a really good chance they came into somebody else's open house as well. Right. So now you're competing for that gig. Make sense? So Drew, you don't like to lose, do you?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so this is your chance. You're on stage. You got to outperform this person immediately.
Yeah, I did. So I did a video text before, and I was actually talking to Heather Hare about it, and I was like, I don't know. I sent that video text, and it just felt, I felt like I looked weird, and the lady never messaged me back. So I was speaking to Heather Hare about it, and she told me like an awesome way to respond like the next week. So I texted her the next week, and I said, "Hey, did you get my video text? It's okay if you laughed at me, but." And then went on with whatever the conversation was. And I just thought it was like a light
Did she
way.
respond?
No. She didn't.
You know what? There's gonna be plenty of people that do not respond. And then for every person that doesn't respond, it doesn't matter. You just got to do it, because the people that deserve your business will respond.
But Bill, remember, it's not always about us. She may have a ton of stuff going on and maybe wanted to respond and just didn't have the chance to, but she may remember Drew and respond if he keeps in contact.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And what you're saying is definitely true. It is. These people are busy. They're not waiting around for their realtor to send them a video text so they can immediately reply. They are living their lives. Okay. I can't tell you how many calls I've gotten from past clients where they're like, thank you so much for not giving up on me. You have been calling me, emailing me, texting me for 8 years, and I haven't responded once. And you just keep at it. And because of that attitude, you're the kind of guy I want to work with.
Yeah, that happened with me with a buyer recently. I thought she was like mad at me, or she didn't want to work with me. She just wasn't responding to anything. So I finally texted her and I said, I'm just going to put your file on hold. And, when you're ready to do something in the future, reach out. And she immediately responded, no, please don't. I've just had a lot going on. So I I've experienced that.
So we can try lots of different techniques like that. I mean, I've been trying to reach one woman forever. And instead of saying, hey, it's Bill, just checking in on you. Hey, is everything okay? Like I normally say, I said, is this still Stacy? Right? Is this Stacy's number still? She still didn't respond. But I'm just trying other things, and I don't really care, because it's not like I have any chance working with her right now. So what difference does it make? Let's keep trying, right? Whatever I'm doing right now ain't working yet. So I'll try a different strategy. Okay. So now we want to get them into the 7 to cement system. Okay. And the 7 to cement system, let me read it exactly to you guys. Hang on one second. Okay. It's not on this sheet. Hang on.
So Bill, did you say not to put them in the database before 7 to cement?
No,
do we put them in our database before or after 7 to cement?
A good question. That's they basically go in your database, but they get essentially a different form of communication until the 7 to cement is complete. Okay, so I actually have a document here that is Christina Rotolo, who is the marketing person at Andy's company, at the Peters company. I'll put in the chat right now kind of some ideas that they use for the 7 to cement. Okay, the idea is you're cementing you in the mind of the prospect. So just an example is an introductory postcard. That could be a handwritten note, a letter with 2 business cards, right? A phone call. Hey, we met 3 days ago at the open house. You know, I had sent you a quick message afterwards, just like I promised. Just wanted to check in to see if you had any questions about the material I sent, right? Or, hey, I found another home in a neighborhood, a couple neighborhoods away. I'm going to be in your area on Thursday afternoon. Wanted to see if you might like to join me. I'm going to go take a look at it, right? You send some type of item of value. Could be a little slide of the MMO, or it could be a slide on, you know, some buyer activity or some sales activity in the marketplace. The next thing you could do is you send out a newsletter with some community stuff going on in the neighborhood. Just basically your newsletter that you send out. Then maybe the week or so later, you make another phone call, and then you may invite them to an event, right? So I'm going to put it here in the. Okay, there is the 7 to cement page, right? There's actually it's not a whole lot here, but gives you some ideas for printing and you know, kind of what the idea is behind it. Okay, now, so they're in the database, but you got to understand how you communicate with your database. So if I were to say everyone that's in my database right now is on a 36 touch, but new people that come into the database, they get special attention until they are cemented in our mind. Does that make sense? So the frequency and the intensity of the communications is higher until they know who you are and you are cemented into their mind. Make sense? Okay, so what do we do after that? Meanwhile, let's say we are going in, and I'm going to be a little vague around the 7 to cement, but let's make sure that the following things happen, right? Handwritten note. Okay, number 7 is follow up on your specific task, right? Number 8 is you might invite them to see another property, right? 9 is maybe another video text, right? 10 could be intro to lender, right? 11 could be market stats or newsletter, right? So there's just a lot of things that can happen, and you're going to have to come up with a way to make sure that all of this stuff takes place. That's the idea behind smart plans, to be honest, is smart plans take some of this and automates it, right? But what I don't want people to say is, oh, there's all this smart plan stuff at Keller Williams, and then spend a month trying to figure out smart plans when you ain't got no one to put on the smart plans. You need people to put on the smart plans, then we'll mess with the smart plans. Make sense? Okay, does that give you a clear idea, Drew? Right, and you might do something, I mean, it's almost akin to the, what do we call it? The 43 folder system. Do you guys remember when I talked about that?
Yeah, so you had a folder for each month and then a folder for each day inside that folder.
Right. So for example, if you have that in front of you, okay, then you say, hey, I just sent a video text to this person. So the next thing I need to do is call this person and check on the video text. So you just put their name in the slot for tomorrow, right? And then you open up the file for tomorrow and you say, okay, these are all the things. So I'm executing on step 10 for that guy, step 7 for that guy, step 4 for that guy. And as long as you complete it all, then remember what we say is just like, here's what's going to happen next. When you finish a task for somebody, you should say, what do I need to do next for this person? And how do I take the next 3 seconds to put that into something permanent, right? So I get off the phone with you, Drew, and we determine that I need to call you in 2 weeks and check in to see how you're doing on your renovations or something. Okay. So before I make another call, before I, go to the bathroom or any of that, I figure out how is that task going to get done? Do I need to add it as a task on command? Don't do that unless you promise yourself you're going to open the thing every single day. Okay. Or what I would likely do is write it on my planner, because that thing is open and in front of me all day, every single day. So if it's there, it's going to get done. If it's not there, I will forget about it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Does that
the seven to cement, is that 7 days in a row?
It's interesting. The original 8x8, they talked about it being eight touches over 8 weeks. In my opinion, that's not fast enough. And the 7 to cement is the truth is it depends, right? If the person is ready, willing, and able, it might be 7 touches over 7 days. If the person is curious and thinking about it and in no rush and blah, 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 it might be 7 touches over 3 weeks or something like that. So that's why you have to know right away how quickly they need to take the next step, right? And sometimes you can say, look, I want to make sure that my urgency matches your urgency. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is you plan to stay where you are forever. And 10 is you need to move, you need to like spend tonight in another home. Where are you? Where would you rank yourself? I'm a 4. Okay, tell me what a 4 means to you. Right, a 4 means that, by the end of this month, I'd like an introduction to a lender. Okay, great, I can help you with that, right? Or I'd like an introduction to the lender before, by the time I get back from looking at the upstairs. You see what I'm saying? Like, we got to understand what they want so we can give it to them. Or so that, let me rephrase that. We got to understand what they want so we can decide if we want to give it to them. And what I mean by that is some people's demands may be not reasonable, right? Or some people's demand, Don, I see you smiling over there, right? Some people's demands may be unethical. They may be racist. They may be inappropriate, right? So you got to determine if that's somebody that you want to get into a business relationship with. Y'all follow that? I mean, we've had clients that we've had agents that have been hit on by their clients. We've had clients that have, kind of just behaved in a very inappropriate way, saying, cuss words or slurs and these kind of things. Like, you ain't got to put up with that. You absolutely should not be putting up with that. Make sense? All right, give me another kind of scenario that you'd like you'd like me to help you create some strategy, some simple kind of steps involved in navigating.
Well, I think the one that I was going to bring up is the same as Drew, just having a system for entering all these people into the database as we're meeting them and following up with them, because I'm struggling there too. So I think you've covered that, because we're meeting a lot of people at open houses and door knocking, and I feel like I'm losing track.
Okay, good.
So
let me comment on that for a second. So everything I've said has not fixed that problem. We've not addressed that. So let's start fresh on that. So I'm just going to make a suggestion here. I hope you guys listen, but of course there's no mandate. Is database entry should not be done during business hours. Okay. Business hours is designed to go into people's homes, learn the market, and talk to people. After business hours is when you get to be the real estate agent's assistant. Okay. I used to say I was a real estate agent from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, and then I was the real estate assistant from 8 at night until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. when it finally got so bad that I was so far behind and I felt like I needed to reintroduce myself to my wife is when I got help. Okay. Make sense? Now,
it does, and that's why mine's not getting entered, because I'm not doing it during the day. And then by the time the evening comes, I'm like so worn out that it's like I'll get to it tomorrow, and then it's just I'm not
well,
getting to
it just needs a time block. The fact is it needs a time block. And then you have to have the energy to execute it during that time block. So for example, maybe your time block is, 6 in the morning on Sunday morning or something, right? And you tune out the world and you take that stack that's slowly been building throughout the week of people that need to go into the database, and you go put them into the database, right? Or, I mean, I know this is not applicable for a lot of us at the moment, but you could also, like, I used to have just a running email that each day I'd start an email. And technically, sometimes I did it by email, but most of the time I did it by Skype. That's how long ago this was, right? And throughout the day, I'd say, Joe Smith, new email address, joesmith@gmail. Sarah Smith, new cell phone number is this. Put them in this category, right? And throughout the day, I was just making notes of all the database maintenance I needed to manage. And then at the end of the day, I just sent it off to my assistant, and poof, the next day it was done, right? So I'm not suggesting that everyone go hire a $50,000 assistant, but I am suggesting that, like, there are organizations out there that could do a couple of hours. Would you pay $25 a week for somebody to maintain, to do that? If so, we can find you somebody that will do that for $25 an hour or $25 a week. I'm just suggesting that we're not talking about massive amounts of money here, right? There are people who are willing to work and do good work for less money than you can make selling homes. Make sense? Okay. Now, with that said, one of the things that we need to review is what are we what's the overall picture for the database? So, like, what categories do we want? What kind of marketing do we want to send? What's our brand mean? Right? So that way you can start, as you're building your database aggressively, you can make sure you're putting people into the appropriate tags and groups and that kind of thing. So that's something we haven't really talked about too much, but I want to put that off to the side to make sure that you guys are all spending time on it. Now, with respect to actually getting manually that stuff into the database, Donna, you just got to have a time block for it. You're just going to have to have a time block for it. And I wish there was another way I could explain it to you, but you just got to put the time in, or pay somebody else to put the time in. Remember, when we have a problem, everyone, there's 2 ways to solve your problem. Does anyone remember what the 2 ways to solve your problem are?
time or money.
That's right. You can use your time, or you can use your money. And your money, I don't really like saying it this way, but here's the truth. Your money is just symbolic of somebody else's time, right? If I give the guy $50 to cut the grass, I bought his time. That's essentially what it is, right? So I used my money to make the problem go away. So are there areas in your life, personal or professional, where you could use your money to make certain kind of stresses go away that aren't taking you forward at the speed you want to be taken forward? Okay. Now, the other thing you want to make sure happens is, if you meet somebody on Monday, this is kind of in the weeds a little bit, but if you meet somebody on Monday and their client file is sitting here and you're time blocked to putting all the data in the system until Sunday, but the person that you just met needs 4 steps taken care of, then you got to make sure you have a system for that, right? Because the database won't be able to handle that, because they won't get into the database for 6 days. By the time 6 days goes on and you get them in the database and you start the system, it's too late. So you're gonna have to do some stuff before technically they're inputted into the database. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or you can say to yourself, what's the word I've used before? Like, I finish the day, so to speak, for 15 minutes at the end of every day. I clean up all the messes I've created during the day. So I input everyone into the system. I start all the 7 disciplines. I write all my handwritten notes. I send all my video text. I make note of what tasks I need to accomplish the next day. I rearrange my schedule, and I look at my notes and I look at my data and I say, gosh, I worked hard today. I added 5 people to my database. 3 of them are in my pipeline. I got 2 new, appointments set. This is awesome. Or you finish the day and say, I didn't do squat today. I thought I worked, but what really happened is I didn't talk to anybody and I didn't learn anything. And you have to reassess your day and say, how did I spend my minutes? Was that a distraction when I actually thought it wasn't a distraction? And you kind of have this reflection period at the end of each day to help you move forward and be stronger the following day. It's kind of like that idea of that we have on the daily success tracker, which forces you to put numbers into all those categories. I did not set or hold a seller appointment today. I did not set or hold a buyer appointment today. The whole day went through and I only talked to 2 people. See what I'm saying? And you got to look at that number. That is the score. That is how you performed that day. Make sense? Now, if you need grace, right? We say God, family, and then business, right? So somebody's had something that popped up that needed to be tended to. I'm not suggesting you forego your family. I was 5 minutes late to the meeting yesterday because I tended to something for my daughter. Does that make sense? So I'm not suggesting that everything goes by the wayside. I'm just suggesting that you take inventory on how you're performing. So what have you guys heard today so far?
That systems are important to being productive and to following up and following through.
Right. I mean, we have systems in our life that we don't even realize. Like, Donna, do you let me not ask a woman this. True. Do you take a shower the same way every day? Do you do your shampoo and then your conditioner and then your soap? Do you tend to wash your left arm before your right arm every day? Does it work? Does it look the same every day?
Yeah, I usually start from the top down.
Right. But so that's your system. That's your system of cleaning yourself. Right? When you brush your teeth, you start on the same side every day, basically?
Yeah.
That's your system.
I guess maybe. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to ask somebody else then. Is anybody, come on, give me the answer I want.
I start on the same side when I brush my teeth.
Thank you, Heather. Heather has a great system that she's been consistent with. It's the same
left side because I'm right-handed.
Me too. I start on the bottom left.
Oh my God, the same.
I think it's pretty common. Bottom left, a little bit kind of the inside first. Okay, so we have systems, y'all. We have systems on how we do everything. Okay. And guess what? I'm hopeful that you guys brush your teeth every day. And the fact that you have a system to do it is probably one of the reasons why it gets done. Does that make sense? Okay. Markia, Ebony, Tevin, tell me you're alive out there. What have you learned today?
Systems help. They give you consistency. Like without a system, how are you tracking properly? And it definitely helps with follow-up. I struggle with follow-up. I can get out there and start, but with following back up, it's just like, oh my God, I was supposed to do this because my system isn't working the way it should be. It's not accurate.
Can I show you guys a system? I'll end with this. Can I show you guys a system? I've mentioned this a couple times, but a system that I used to use with leads is anybody that I ever spoke to, this is way before command, right? I'd take out a sheet of paper and I'd write their name, their email, and their cell phone number on the sheet of paper. If you gave me a moment to speak to you, in my opinion, you earned a sheet of paper, okay? On the left-hand side, I'd write when I met them and how I met them. And I'd start to basically create a journal of all of our interactions, all the things I learned about them, you know, what their motivations were, what their timing was, if they were looking for a rental, if they had a pet, whatever. All the things I learned about them, right? And then I ultimately, once I started showing them homes and that kind of stuff, I just paperclip all the data. Okay. And then once I felt like I was going to get paid, once I had an understanding that I was going to get paid to help this person, Then they got a folder. And then my stack of papers for that person just went into a folder. The folders I looked at every single day because those people were hot and I needed to look at them every single day. Then I also had a stack of a bunch of people who basically had not earned a folder yet. Does that make sense? And then I kind of separated those that were kind of fresh, if you will. They were hotter, right? It wasn't call me in 3 months. And those people kind of went into a separate stack. So every day I went through my stacks, right? So every day I went through my hot stack to see if there was any follow-up I needed to do. And truthfully, I probably reached out to them more than 7 times in 7 days, right? Because I'm auditioning for the job. They're not looking for a friend. They're looking for an assertive agent that's going to get the job done. Make sense? They're not hiring you because they want to spend time with you. They're hiring you because they want to move. Make sense?
Yeah, but I couldn't agree more about the systems. And, I feel like it can be confusing at times if you don't know everybody that you talk to and kind of forget. And like you say, you look up and you see them closing on a home and it's like, dang, what could I have done better? And it's like, it all boils down to the system that you have, in place.
Right. And I would say the other thing in that scenario is it came down to unmet expectations or fuzzy expectations or fuzzy timeline, right? So you had not cemented yourself in their mind as their realtor of choice. Somehow you missed the boat somehow. You didn't ask enough questions. You didn't pick up on something of theirs. You didn't say, hey, are you working with a realtor or are you interviewing other agents? There's something you didn't find out that caused you to not react the way you needed to react to continue to earn that business. It's okay. We're going to learn. There's 8 billion people out there. We can help lots of people. It's okay. Okay. And so every day I'd look through my stack of the people that were hot and double check to make sure I was communicating enough with them. Right. Then I'd look through my stack. Like if I was 5 minutes early to an appointment, I'd pull out the stack of the people who hadn't earned the right to get a folder yet. And I'd ping them. Hey, we met in an open house 3 months ago, just checking in on you. Still in the market? I'm looking at a couple new properties that might fit your needs. Give me a call. I'd love to tell you about it. Right. And then I'd turn one of those cold leads into a hot lead. Then they went in the other stack. So the idea is, I know this kind of goes, hopefully this goes without saying, but that's why having like a workstation is so important, right? That's a system. It's sitting down and like taking stock of all the opportunities that surround you. If you're constantly running everywhere and there's no like home base, it's very difficult to stay consistent. This is what like centers me, right? I got my commitments over there. I got my calendar right here. I got my WhatsApp there. I got my hot list here. I got my tracking thing here, right? It's all right here. It's all right in front of me. It's virtually impossible for something to slip through the cracks, right? And when I leave this station, I'm generally done for the day, right? So this is like my brain's clue that I need to be focused on work. When this is not in front of me, I'm generally not focused on work. Does that make sense? Any other thoughts, questions? Drew, you look like you're deep in thought.
I'm just thinking about, I'm thinking about all the systems that I have to make into systems. So it's just like, it's good that we had this conversation because now I just have a place to start. I feel like I've been doing the work without reaping the benefits so far because I haven't seen, I've been doing the work and it's turning into stuff, but I haven't really had a chance to visualize it and see it like in the bigger picture, which would be the system itself. So
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the like door knocking, for example, have you like mapped out the neighborhood? Have you like determined, hey, this is a 65 home neighborhood and I have actually been face to face with 17 of them? And the ones that I have not been face to face live on these 2 streets. So on Saturday, I'm going there, right? Like that's the E to P. We are all being entrepreneurial right now, but where you're going to see the most success as we go up and further up this chart is when we get purposeful about how we organize and manage our time, right? And all the different chaos that's coming at us. That's system building, and that's what's going to take you to the next level, right? System building could be anything, guys. System building is the way that your files are organized, right? System building is like the checklist or the info sheet that I've shown you guys a few times. That's a system. Buyer goes under contract. What are the next 50 things we got to deal with? In what order? Who's going to do it? When's it going to get done? Do we need to communicate any messages to each other? I'm talking about you and your assistant about what's going on in the file. Make sense? All right, was this helpful? Any other questions?
Absolutely helpful. Thank you, sir.
All right, I've got systems for most everything. So if there's something that we didn't get a chance to cover, which almost certainly is the case, just ping me and we'll go through some more detail privately, okay? You all have an awesome day. Hey, well, by the way, today's the last day of the quarter. It's the last day of the month. Let's push hard today, okay? We're going to report our numbers at the end of the day. Let's push real hard. Let's prove to ourselves that it can happen. So take up your activity. Just give it a little bit more today, okay? See you soon.